Hey beer tubers, it's Ryan back with another episode of San Diego Beer Vlog. Today I'm going to look at a beer that I've had in my fridge longer than I wanted, so I wanted to get a review of this. And that is a local beer. This is from Coronado Brewing Company, and this is Red Devil. This is a red Imperial ale. So I've never had this one before, but I've been wanting to try more and more Coronado beers as I can, because they're kind of one of the smaller, sort of unknown, not unknown, but smaller breweries that fly under the radar in San Diego. And they're out on an island in the bay, and they have a real nice brew pub that I need to get to someday. But let's take a look here at Red Devil. That's a two-finger head. It's kind of dark. It's kind of bordering on a really light brown, but it's more like an off-white kind of. The color though is real nice on that. A lot of dark ruby red up towards the head on the bottom. It sort of gets into a lighter red into orange, but really nice looking beer. Every time I think of like an Imperial Red Ale, I immediately think of Arrogant Bastard from Stone. So we'll see how this one kind of compares to it. Definitely an unusual aroma on there. You got a lot of sweetness, definitely a bunch of caramel malt on this beer for sure. But then the hop character is kind of interesting. It's like a sweeter kind of, maybe, I don't know, it's a bit different. It's almost like a sweet earthy hopness. I don't know what varieties they're using. They just say that it assertive hop presence, lasting finish, and some other stuff, but I don't know what varieties they're using in this one, unfortunately. But unusual aroma. There's some earthiness in there. There's almost there's a big time fruity presence that you kind of get with some English or British style beers. So I'm getting that as well. Maybe they're using a variety that might have like a Palisades kind of gives off an apricot kind of smell, and I'm getting that almost kind of aroma on here as well, with maybe a little bit of a pear. But interesting smelling beer, that's for sure. So I'm ready to dig in. Cheers. Ooh, yeah, that's really nice. I have had this for a while, so maybe there is a good amount of a hop character, but nothing like an Arrogant Bastard in terms of bitterness. Up front, you get the hops, just real briefly, and there's the malt backbone of this beer is fantastic though. The bottle mentions chocolate, and it's definitely there. There's definitely chocolate in this beer. Chocolate and caramel kind of sweetness in the back end, but there's enough bitterness up front. It's really balanced and really smooth. Forgot to mention that this is a 9% alcohol by volume beer, so it's a very big beer. But right now it doesn't drink like one at all. This beer's puzzling me a bit because the bitterness up front, and there is a decent amount of it, is different than what I've kind of encountered. Certainly in Imperial Reds and Ambers and those kind of beers. There's kind of like this sweet bitterness, kind of earthiness, kind of fruitiness to it. So once that goes away, this huge malt backbone comes into play. Caramel malts, sweet malts, there's definitely a fruit character in there. And then right at the end you get some of the chocolate in there as well. Man, I'm really impressed with this beer. This is tasting excellent. It's different than pretty much most of the Imperial Red Ales or even most beers I've tasted that are sort of around the style taste like, because it has that almost like a porter characteristic in the end, because you get a little bit of roast and chocolate notes, but then in the middle of it you get this big kind of fruity caramel character that you get within a barley wine, and then up front there's a decent amount of hops that I think kind of lean towards something like you might get with Sierra Nevada Bigfoot. So these different characteristics as you kind of drink it are really interesting to me, and it tastes great. It's a bit unusual, it's a bit puzzling, but I'm really liking it so far. And you can see that it's leaving some real nice lacing on my glass. I think this is a seasonal release from them, maybe winter time. So I think it's a fairly fresh bottle. as well. But I'm gonna let this warm up and see what comes with letting it get to a warmer temperature. All right, so I'm back with Red Devil from Coronado Brewing Company, and this is a very interesting beer. It's got that hop character. It's got like a floral character. There's some earthiness, some like kind of like fruitiness, like you might get with like an apricot, and then the malt base. You got the caramel there, you got the chocolate notes that are kind of at the finish. I'm starting to almost get like a cherry character on it. And then there's almost like, maybe it's the hops coming through towards the end, but there's like almost like a little bit of like a spiciness. So, I mean, to me this is like this is a pretty complex beer. So I gotta give them a lot of credit for brewing this. Taste-wise, is it like my favorite? This kind of goes more towards like the generic category of American Strong Ale in terms of being, like, this is much more complex than if you just took a simple red ale recipe and doubled it up to 9% ABV. This has much more complexity. So I'm gonna go with an A- on this one. I think it's an excellent beer. It's throwing me for a loop because I haven't had anything that's quite similar to this. So that's kind of why I'm going with an A- on this one. It just, the uniqueness really pushes it from that B+ being like a really good above average beer into that kind of lower excellent range for me. So yeah, well done. Both Sean's there at Coronado Brewing Company. Red Devil, A- from me. This is really solid. My favorite beer from them so far is still their bourbon barrel aged, I think, smoked brown ale, I think what it was, that they had draft only during San Diego Beer Week. That was a phenomenal beer. But this one's really solid as well. So if you can get Coronado, and if you see this one on draft somewhere locally, check it out. It's a pretty interesting Imperial Red Ale. So until next time, please comment and subscribe. Cheers.